Today we are blending colored pencils with household items. Oof. But seriously, there are so many different hacks and suggestions online to help you blend colored pencils. And once you've finally worked through all the confusion of choosing the right method, you then risk damaging your artwork that you've likely spent hours on. So instead of wasting your time testing all these hacks, I'm wasting my time. In last week's video, I came across 22 different ways to blend colored pencils and compared 12 professional blending tools like blending pencils, solvents, and blending pens. You can catch up on that video here or check out all the results in my blog post in the description below. Today, we're taking on the other 10 from my list, which are more like blending hacks, and we'll be using items that you might already own at home to see if these methods actually work. And the list has grown a little bit since my last video. In that last video, a few of you commented with ideas and suggestions, so I'll be sharing those today as well. And I've come up with my own hack, which I think is an original idea, but it's an adaptation of a blending method that I've only seen a few professionals use and I think might be quite effective if it works as well as I'm hoping. I'll be trying it for the first time today so you can be the judge. So stick around to the end to check that out and tell me what you think. We're going a little less in depth with our paper test today because I am not convinced that all these methods will even work. So this is more of a myth-busting exercise, and if any of these look like legitimate competitors for the professional methods we tried last week, I'll do the full swatches and include the results in that blog post so that you can compare them side by side. So for today, after so many recommendations, I've bought some new paper. This is cardstock, but it is Bristol vellum, whereas the cardstock that I have been using until now is just cardstock. So I'm very interested to see if this is nicer to use with my pencils because this is actually quite cheap in the USA and it's easy to find on Amazon. It's not too expensive to get even here in Australia, although it doesn't come in A4 size. So I will pop a link to this in the blog post if you're interested, and I do have a much requested paper comparison video coming up in the next month or so. So subscribe if you want to catch that one. So first up we have Vaseline, also known as petroleum jelly. This was one of the first methods that I was recommended when I was a beginner, so it's one of the first methods that we're going to try today. So the first thing I want to try is actually just applying the Vaseline on the top and seeing what that does. It's blending it out a little bit. Actually, yeah, that is kind of working. So it's taken a lot of the color with it. So let's try some different methods. So I've seen people suggest dipping the pencils in the Vaseline. So we're gonna try that. It's a bit smoother, but it's kind of just messy. Okay, what about the last option is to apply it first to the page and then try coloring on top. So let's try that. Okay, look, yes, this kind of works, but oh, look, there are so many better ways to do this. I'm sorry, but I think the Vaseline is not a go for me. So another method I see recommended all the time and that I tried as a beginner was baby oil. In fact, I bought this exact bottle when I first started coloring, and you can see how often I have used it. Does this expire? So let's see if this still works. I'm gonna treat this a bit like our solvents and make sure that I just apply a little bit because I feel like it would be really easy to overdo with the oils. Now this is more like what I hoped for from a blending hack. This baby oil so far is working almost as well as the solvents we tried last week. You can see straight away the color is just bold and vibrant and working really well. So I'm actually going to put this test up against our other ones on the blog and see just how well it does on all the different papers, on both different pencils, and see if it really compares against our other tools. Now for an oil, I actually use olive oil, perché la pizza italiana è deliciosa. As we go, make sure you tell me in the comments if you've tried these methods and had good or bad results. So the olive oil seems to work too, but I do wonder if it's adjusting the colors a bit, because when you do try this on the paper by itself, you do end up with a bit of discoloration. I also wonder with some of these oils, if you're really leaving an oily coating on your paper, that it's never going to return back. I'm not sure if that's the same with the solvents, but it is something to consider that you are leaving an oily coating forever on your art. Next up, vegetable oil. I'm not sure how some of these will age over time. Will they eventually fade or rot? I'm honestly not sure. So I'd love to hear your own input and any extra ideas that I've missed in this video. I'm really surprised. That vegetable oil actually worked a lot better than I was expecting. I think we're gonna have to test these more thoroughly than I thought, Shane. So basically at this point, we're just using anything with the word oil, so we might as well have a go at coconut oil too. However, I am very allergic to coconuts, so Shane can do this one.
All right, so what do?
You're blending.
Okay, blending. Start with the red pencil.
Say something arty, Shane.
So when you're colouring, you need to make sure you hold the pencil at the back and do it on an angle so that you get better pencil transfer.
Good to see you've been paying attention to my YouTube videos.
I don't even think we need to blend that. Look at that. It's perfect. All right, coconut. I'm pretty happy with that.
Next up, we have isopropyl alcohol, which you might also know as rubbing alcohol. Now, this is very similar to what you'll find in your colorless blenders. In fact, I actually use this with my alcohol ink art instead of the blending fluids that you buy in the art shop, because it's much cheaper and works basically the same way. In my last video, a few of you left some really helpful comments to use the blending stumps or an empty alcohol marker to apply the gamsol that we tested. And I think that would also be a great suggestion for the isopropyl alcohol. So if this is a method that you want to try getting yourself an empty brush pen or a blending stump and see if that works better instead of just using the cotton bud. Now, I've actually heard good things about using nail polish remover, and I wasn't sure if it was with the acetone or without the acetone, so we're trying both. If you are enjoying this video, please take 3 seconds to press subscribe. I am working towards a goal to reach 100,000 subscribers in 2021, and I've still got a long way to go. So it means so much to me to have your support. And hey, while you're here, leave a comment and share this video with a friend or in your art groups so I can make more videos like this. Well, that's interesting. I thought the acetone would have been the key factor in this working, but this one without acetone is actually working better. So I find that really interesting. I'm really surprised. The nail polish remover without the acetone actually works better than the nail polish remover with the acetone. I guess there's other ingredients in there because obviously it's designed to remove nail polish. So I wonder what other chemicals it has that does the job. Either way, there you go. Hand sanitizer, the 2020 size. I've seen a lot of people try this and I've seen a lot of people say it doesn't work. So I'm not sure if this was maybe discovered out of desperation or if it's actually a legitimate method. Not to mention, different hand sanitizers have completely different ingredients. So maybe an alcohol-based hand sanitizer would work in theory. We'll see, but I'd probably rather use something like that rubbing alcohol Look, let's have a go. Ethyl alcohol, so this should do the trick. If any hand sanitizer is gonna do it, this should work. No way, this is actually working. Okay, I'm surprised. I actually thought that this was gonna be like, look, it's not great and it doesn't really work on the Polychromos pencils, but it actually works better than I thought it would on the Prismacolors. Probably still wouldn't go out of my way, but you know, if you've got nothing else around, I'm sure we all have hand sanitizer around in 2021, so why not? You know what? I can think of 1,000 reasons why not. In the last video, Dave made the suggestion to use a plain chapstick or a stick deodorant. Now, honestly, I'm kind of skeptical of these, but Dave won me over with his next comment about the deodorant as a blender, that nobody can ever say your artwork stinks. So of course, we had to try these. So Dave suggested unscented, but Shane bought me strawberry scented. It might make our pencils smell like strawberries, which is kind of fun. Except that I can't smell it because of my cold that I still have from last week. So the problem with buying a flavoured chapstick is that it's also coloured chapstick. So probably I would recommend buying plain if you intend on doing this yourself. Now, this is actually quite similar to the Vaseline, but this is working a lot better than the Vaseline did, which makes me think that maybe I wasn't using the Vaseline properly. As much as this is working really well, I'm not sure that I would recommend this because I just don't know with the ingredients in one of these how long this would last in the long term. I also think that chapstick is actually quite an expensive option, and if we're going to look at blending hacks, we really want to find something that's cheaper than the professional blending tools. Unique masculine fragrance. So again, with the deodorant, probably an odorless deodorant would be a better choice. Dave, you promised me that no one would say my artwork stinks, but I'm saying now, this stinks. Okay, so that's partly my fault. Actually, no, wait, that's partly Shane's fault for buying a scented deodorant rather than a plain deodorant, but let's see how this works. And again, this is working to blend the coloured pencils, but it is a bit more of an expensive product, and I don't really know about these ingredients, how long they're gonna last over time. So while this does work, and thank you Dave for the recommendation, it's probably not on the top of my personal list. Here you go, Shane. Okay, so here comes my special new hack, I think. It's somewhat an adaptation of an idea that Lindsay from The Frugal Crafter shared, so I'll link to her video as well on my blog. But I've seen these amazing heat boards called an Icarus painting board, which is basically a heated surface that you draw on, which slightly melts your pencils or crayons as you draw with them, allowing you to blend them more easily. The Icarus painting board starts at around $350, so it's not cheap. And Lindsay was able to recreate her own heated drawing board for around $15. Today, I'm taking the idea of working with heat, and we're going to see if we can use a pizza stone heated to a very low temperature to warm up my page and blend my pencils. I'm excited, but also scared. But I've committed to it now. Now, because we're dealing with heat, you do need to be careful not to burn yourself, so I've got some safety precautions here, although luckily this isn't actually too hot. Now, 50 degrees Celsius is about what they actually recommend for the Icarus drawing board, but I'll be honest, it was a little bit hard to tell just how well it was working. You can see a bit on screen that some of the colours are blending, and this does seem to be bringing out a bit more of the pigment in my pencils than just drawing normally. But I think that we should crank up the heat to see if we can really see just how well this works. So we're turning the oven up to 100 degrees Celsius, which definitely means I'm going to need to be more careful not to burn myself as I'm drawing. All right, so this is definitely hot. I'm gonna just say right now that this is probably not a good idea. I think even touching the paper at this point is actually like burn level, so don't try this at home.
Nice glove.
It's the only way to hold the paper still without burning myself. Otherwise, I'm gonna end up accidentally touching it. This time I can definitely feel the difference, and the pencils are basically melting as I am drawing. They feel very different. It's like a completely different medium with a different texture, and the colors are so vibrant on both the Prismacolors and on the Faber-Castell Polychromos. The heat really brings out those bright colors, and this definitely works and blends the colors really well. However, it does use up a lot more pencil. And it's not exactly a simple or convenient approach. But hey, if you're up for something different, this is one to give a go just for the sake of trying a different art form. I mean, if you're wanting a smooth blend, that is a very smooth blend. It is quite different to anything else I've tried, and obviously complicated and a little bit awkward. Not really something you can do on the couch, but it's definitely an interesting idea. This idea of using heat to actually melt the pencils as you use them is unique. I think it doesn't quite fall in my list of favorite blending methods, but it was definitely fun, and I think I will try this again on a full art piece one day. So I have a few favorites I want to test against our professional tools from my last video to see how well they compare. I've chosen the baby oil, vegetable oil, isopropyl alcohol, and the acetone-free nail polish remover to do some final testing for comparison. I'd add the coconut oil to this list as well if it weren't for my allergies. As I'm using these, I'm really impressed by the results of both the oils. In the first layers, these seem easier to apply than any of the solvents that I've used. They work quickly, the colors are vibrant, and they don't seem to move the pigment around or mess up the colors as quickly as other methods, making them easier to learn. The key here is definitely still to apply a very small amount. I think that's where I went wrong when I first tried using baby oil all those years ago as a beginner colorist. My cotton bud here feels dry to touch, that's how little I'm applying, and using a blending stump would definitely be another great option to try here. I wasn't sure how these oils would last over time, but in my research online, I found that Faber-Castell actually suggests using baby oil on their website, so that's encouraging. I did find the second layer of pencils felt a little bit different on both the vegetable oil and the baby oil. It was a little bit harder to apply even after leaving the baby oil to dry for 24 hours. But this didn't seem to affect the overall result. The rubbing alcohol and nail polish remover also worked great. And all four options were comparable to the solvents and the blending pens that we tested in my last video. In fact, if it weren't for these labels, I probably couldn't tell you which results were which. So this was interesting, surprising, and we definitely have some new hacks to add to the list of genuine blending tools. Which reminds me, I've gathered all the results from my previous video and this video in a blog post so you can see just how well each blending tool performed side by side. So please go check that out and tell me in the comments if you have tried any of these tools or if there's anything I've missed and what your experience has been, whether it was good or bad. So to use our blended pencils, we just apply with a paintbrush. There's so much dust. You get like a brown. Oh, the smell just hit me. Oh. But you know, it's blended. The colors have blended really well. It probably needs a bit of moisture. What do we got here? I've got options. Just put a bit of isopropyl alcohol. You know, get a bit of moisture going on. Come on, spray, help me out. No, we're just dripping. Let's get some more on our brush.
What would it take for you to put your Copic markers in there?
Yeah, no way we're doing that. Nah, not unless we got like a million views on this video before the end of the year. That, no less.
What if it does?